All right, real quick, huge shout out to the Noted Gang. And guys, please use these setups before they get nerfed because they are way too overpowered right now for Season 4 of Warzone. Trust me when I say these are probably the best ones yet. So we're going to get right into it. If you guys want to be featured in the next video, just let me know which one of these loadouts you guys are actually going to be using. Both of these have the best movement and pretty much have no recoil. So we're going to start out with my personal favorite, and that is the Marco 5. Guys, with the Marco 5, you guys need to use the recoil booster for the increased fire rate, and their accuracy reduction basically does nothing. Put on the Perfetto Lesto 355mm for the aim down sight speed, movement speed, aim walking movement speed, and sprint to fire speed. You get a slight reduction of bullet velocity and recoil control, doesn't even matter. Put on slate reflector for the better, like, just vision overall. I mean, I don't really suggest an alternative. I don't really see a better alternative in my opinion. Put on the Emerito FR for the initial firing recoil, recovery, aim down sight speed, and movement speed. You get a slight reduction of accuracy and recoil during sustained fire. Not a big deal whatsoever. Trust me, this is a fantastic weapon. Put on Frenzy for the health regeneration after kills. And some people want to use momentum for move speed after kills, and some people want to use gung ho for the fire during sprint. I don't really think it's necessary. I think for this setup right here, since you're gonna be flying around the map, you're gonna want to use health regeneration to literally regen right after every single kill. Quick for increased sprint speed, taped grip for the aiming stability, movement speed, weapon swap quickness, and sprint to fire speed increase. Trust me, this is very significant. Literally no cons. I think this is one of the best to put on there. Put on the 9mm 48 round drum for the increased ammo capacity. Now here's the thing, you can use the Curse 36 rounds for the bullet velocity, damage range, bullet penetration, and movement speed, and you'll go even faster. But I didn't choose this one just because it's a lot harder to control than the 48 round. If you think you can control the 36 round, then be my guest and use that instead. I chose Lengthen for the increased bullet velocity and Mark VI Skeletal for aim down sight speed and movement speed. This right here is literally the best movement build you can have in Warzone right now. You will move so fast. It has borderline no recoil. It's the best weapon and best loadout in Warzone right now. But we're going to move on to other weapons. We're going to try out the NZ41. I literally didn't change it. So pretty much the MX silencer for the sound suppression, horizontal recoil control, vertical recoil control, and damage range. We're going to move on to the Lora MK1 burst. Now, I don't think that there's really any negatives to any of these so far. The burst, fire, toggle, full auto, highly accurate, controllable, and damage range. I still think that this is the best choice. Some people have chose to go with the Orb Weaver 360mm BC for highly accurate, controllable, reduced scope, sway, and gun bob, and bullet velocity. I don't think that's necessary, but if you want to use that, completely up to you. I chose the SVT 40 PU scope for the best scope for an AR, or Weaver E pack for recoil control, recoil recovery, accuracy, and flinch resistance, brace for the initial firing recoil. Fully loaded, you can choose on hand for better aim down sight speed, but I chose this for starting ammo. Stippled grip for recoil recovery and initial firing recoil. 6.5 Sakura 50 rounds for the recoil control and accuracy, fire rate, movement speed, and max ammo capacity. This is literally the best one you could choose. Lengthened for bullet velocity, and last but not least, M1941 hand stop. I still think this is actually the best AR to use in Warzone. I think it's the best AR loadout in Warzone, so I think you should try that out. We're gonna move on to the Arma Guerrera, though, a weapon that's actually heavily slept on but incredibly powerful. Now it's basically a similar loadout. I use the recoil booster for fire rate, slight reduction of accuracy, the body 315mm CII for the damage, less damage fall off in long range, and bullet velocity, slight reflector for the better vision, Emerito SA folding for sprint to fire speed and movement speed. Initial firing recoil, you get a slight reduction, not a big deal. Hard scope for the increased recoil control, quick for sprint speed, taped grip for aiming stability, movement speed, weapon swap quickness, and sprint to fire speed. 9mm 60 rounds for ammo capacity. Trust me when I say this is probably the best one. I don't really suggest using these other ones. It's just not going to be as beneficial. Probably the 42 round fast mag if you don't really feel like having any slight reductions. This has no reductions and you're going to be able to reload faster, but you have less bullets to work with. Completely up to you. Don't use a short and don't use a curse. They're just not going to work out for you. Trust me, they're not going to work out for you. Lengthen for the bullet velocity and Mark VI Skeletal for aim down sight speed and movement speed. You're going to fly I mean, literally fly around the map with this setup right here. Now, moving on to the MP40, if you want to use this gun, this is still extremely viable, and I think it has one of the best TTKs for an SMG. So I'll put on the recoil booster for the increased fire rate, slight reduction of accuracy, VDD 189mm short for the damage range, bullet velocity, and limb damage. You still get a slight reduction of headshot damage, not a big deal. Put on the slate reflector just because I think that's personally the best. Some people choose the Krosnik ISO 1M for the increased ADS with alternative iron sight. Completely up to you. Go with the Krosnik 33M folding for the increased sprint to fire speed and movement speed with a slight reduction of initial firing recoil. Then you put on the brace to fix that initial firing recoil. Put on quick for sprint speed, taped grip for aiming stability and movement speed, and weapon swap quickness along with sprint to fire speed. This is literally the best one that you can use right now. Hopefully they don't nerf this, but I feel like they are going to nerf this because this is just way too good with no cons whatsoever. The 7.62 Gorenko 45 round mag for the recoil control, movement speed, aim down sight speed, and fire rate. Lengthened for the bullet velocity, and Mark VI skeletal for aim down sight speed and movement speed. This is probably one of the second best builds for movement, and I was surprised because the MP40 is actually what got me interested in these movement builds. They're very, very good. The ground loot MP40 just surprised me. Now, the H4 Blixen, this is still, in my opinion, the fastest TTK weapon. So this is the fastest movement build for the fastest TTK weapon. So we're putting on the recoil booster for the increased fire rate, slight reduction of accuracy, the Carlson 17-inch custom for aim walking movement speed, firing visibility to enemies, unfortunately, and horizontal recoil control. Now you get a slight reduction of vertical recoil control and bullet velocity, but we can fix that. I mean, it's not a big deal. Put on the slate reflector because I think that's the best option. There's not really another option that's better. Magnus is not really the best option. You're not going to be able to see too well. Put on the remove stock for the movement speed, sprint to fire speed, and aim down sight speed. Put on fleet for the increased weapon swap quickness and movement speed. Then put on quick for the sprint speed. Put on taped grip for the aiming stability, movement speed, weapon swap quickness, and sprint to fire speed. Move on to the 7.62 Gorenko 54 round mags for the recoil control and accuracy, headshot damage, aim down sight speed, and magazine ammo capacity. You get a slight reduction of bullet velocity and range and bullet penetration, but it's not a big deal. The reason I didn't pick 36 is because these literally feel the same. So you might as well get more bullets for the same amount of damage. Put on lengthened for increased bullet velocity and Mark VI skeletal for aim down sight speed and movement speed. Now this is the strongest TTK weapon, and now you've made it one of the fastest weapons in the game. With that being said, these are the top 5 loadouts in Warzone right now, and honestly, you're going to be flying around the map and having the best time in Fortune's Keep or Caldera. Let me know which weapons you're using, and let me know how they did for you, how many kills you've gotten. Guys, one last thing, how many kills have you gotten in Fortune's Keep so far?
I executed the Yo, he gave up! He gave up!